Hey guys, Naterz here, and this is a video that I'm not sure I would have thought about on my own. It was actually commented by Gengar0949, who said that player first games should include characters from sitcoms, like Elf, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Full House, The Big Bang Theory, and others. Until I saw this comment, I actually hadn't thought about how many sitcoms there are that Warner owns, so I thought it would make a great video. There are 8 different sitcoms that I will be bringing up in this video. Of the 8, I had only watched 2 of them before doing research for this video. For all of these shows, I watched the pilot episode in an attempt to get familiar with it. So let's start off with my favorite out of these characters, and the only one to my knowledge on this list that is not owned by Warner, but he is heavily associated with them. That being Elf. The original Elf sitcom was distributed by Warner Brothers.
Elf is an Alien production and is distributed by Warner Brothers Domestic Television Distribution.
But that's not where Elf's association with Warner ends. See, in Germany, there used to be a theme park called Warner Bros. Movie World. There was actually a ride called the Gremlins Invasion. It started by having you sit down in a theater and watching a segment before the ride starts. And who is the focus of the segment? None other than Elf. See, the whole story of the ride is that Elf finishes shooting an episode and then is attacked by gremlins. So you then enter the ride where you get to see him and Gizmo escaping, which is pretty fun in my opinion. Keep in mind, all of this is happening at a Warner theme park. Lastly, even the official Elf Twitter account has interacted with the Warner community, even stating that he better make it into the game before Samwise from Lord of the Rings, otherwise he is going to rage quit. He's even tweeted at Tony and some of the other accounts linked to the game. What I'm trying to say through all of this is that Elf may not be owned by Warner, but boy does he have a connection to them. I think that he has a pretty decent shot, as there are a good amount of people wanting him to get into the game. But how would he work? Well, for those who do not know, I run the Elf for MultiVersus Twitter account, so I've actually created a whole moveset for him. I've also made a video on the moveset, so if you are curious about it, consider watching it. So because there are a lot of ideas that I've had for him, I'll just cover a few. First of all, his obsession with cats should definitely be included in his moveset. I think that for his forward special, it should be him chasing a cat. The cat could have a hitbox, as well as Elf running after him. I think that it would work great and fit his character really well. He also could play the saxophone and have music notes come out of it, flying upwards with the hitbox, sort of similar to Gizmo's keyboard that he has. There are many other moves that he could have, and you can pause and read them if you wish, but I think that that is enough talk about Elf. So, the next character that I would like to see would have to be Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. Before doing research for this video, I had never seen an episode of the show. Truthfully, I wasn't interested in it at all. I had zero desire to watch it. I do remember seeing a couple episodes of young Sheldon clips and thinking about watching it, but that is to the extent that it went. For this video, I watched the pilot of the show, and boy was that not what I was expecting. I don't know, it was alright, but I was actually kind of surprised that a show that started out on that episode held viewers. I just wasn't that into it. That being said, I have no idea what the rest of the show is like, so maybe it did get better. But how would Sheldon work? This was a big question that I had. There are a lot of Sheldon movesets out there, so I did read a few of them. A move that I kept seeing over and over again was a "you're in my spot" move. Now, I did understand this, as the joke originated from the pilot. Basically, a girl sits in his spot, and he gets pretty angry because it's his spot. I think my favorite interpretation of this move was thought by Yogurt Productions on Reddit. He says that Sheldon would set down a chair on the map. Any player can sit in the chair by crouching, which would give them gray health. However, if Sheldon attacks the chair while someone is sitting in it, they take heavy damage. It destroys the chair, and another cannot be spawned for 20 seconds. I think this is an awesome concept. I find it super neat that other players can sit in the chair, and I love the idea. So I think Sheldon could have a move like that. I actually think that young Sheldon could possibly make a good character choice as well. It is newer than the original show, meaning it may be a bit more relevant. There also may be a bit more moveset potential to go off of from young Sheldon. From what I've seen, anyway. I think it would be really neat if we got Sheldon in MultiVersus, and I don't think it is that out of the question. Steve Urkel is a name that I get seen thrown out there around quite a bit, and he does seem to be a pretty neat character. I actually didn't know that he wasn't the main character of the show. He doesn't even appear for the first time until episode 4 of the first season, but he actually has a lot to work with. He has a ton of inventions that can be used in the game. He could use his jetpack as a recovery, he could have a move where he sprays soap forward. If it hits a player, it does damage to them, but if it lands on the stage, it will make it slippery, causing anyone, including Urkel, who walks on it to fall over. He also has made a force field belt, which I think could be utilized in the game. It definitely would have to have a cooldown though, because it would mean that if anybody hits him, they have damage done to themselves and none done to Urkel. It would probably last like 8 seconds or something. There are so many other inventions that could be utilized, but I think the 3 that I have gone over helps show that he has a ton of potential. He also just so happens to be a klutz himself, so he could probably have some moves where he is accidentally hurting his opponent by tripping and falling onto them or something. Urkel is a really neat character and has even had a crossover with Scooby-Doo, which I think is neat. He would make a great addition to the roster, and I hope to see him in the future of the game. So apparently Ted Lasso is a sitcom, which is cool with me because I love Ted's character. I don't mind being given the chance to talk about him. Ted seems like such a nice, down-to-earth dude, someone that you'd like to get coffee with or something, but not really someone that you'd see in a fighting game. Or at least that is probably what most people might think. I think that he could work, however. My whole concept of his character comes from an episode in Season 2. In it, Ted introduces his alter ego, Led Tasso. Led is a much meaner version of Ted, and is used in a last resort in an effort to unite his team. In MultiVersus, it would work a bit differently. It would still be a last resort, but there is no team for Ted to unify. If Ted goes over a certain damage number, he turns into Lead. Lead does more damage than Ted. See, Ted would be way too nice to actually hurt his opponents. So when Ted is the one being played as, he is hurting the opponent by accident. But when he turns into Lead, everything is intentional. I think this would be really fun and a great way to make Ted work, and I'd really like the devs to include him, as I really do like his character. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is a show that I've heard about before, but have never actually watched. That was until today. So, the main character is actually just Will Smith, which I had never realized before. There isn't a ton that can be pulled from the first couple episodes of the show moveset-wise. I feel like music is a pretty big part of his character from what I've seen, so I'd imagine that he would have some dancing moves or something. I really do wish there was more I could say about him, as I do think that he would be a really neat character to see get into the game. Hopefully the devs decide to add him in the future and come up with a pretty cool moveset for him. The next character that I'd like to talk about would have to be Ross from Friends. I'm going to be honest here, I'm not sure who the popular characters are from Friends, but Ross has had a pet monkey, which I think could be worked into his moveset. I'd like to say that out of everyone in this video, Friends is the only pilot episode that I did not watch. Not because I didn't want to, but because I actually forgot Warner had the rights, and I didn't have enough time to watch the pilot. So I watched a few clips, and learned that Ross had a monkey. I think that he could be a fun character. Although, I'd rather Ace Ventura be the character with a monkey, but nonetheless, this video is about sitcoms, not whatever category Ace would be in. I don't have much to say about Friends. I felt I needed to include it due to how big it is, but I don't know much about it. So if you have any ideas for how a Friends character could work, feel free to leave them in the comments. The second to last sitcom that I would like to talk about would have to be Gilligan's Island. I watched the pilot episode, which explained how they got on the island. and gave some backstory on the characters. I feel like either Skipper or Gilligan would be the character choice here. Judging by the first episode, I think that Gilligan would be an interesting dumb character. Just by watching the first episode, you can tell that that is what he is supposed to be. It's also pretty cool because Elf has actually had a crossover with Gilligan's Island, so if they both got in, they definitely could have some voice lines that mention it. I think that I wasn't able to gather a ton from the pilot, and if I had more time to watch future episodes, I could probably gather more about the characters. I think that a Gilligan's Island rep would be awesome, and I hope that we could get to see one in the future. Police Academy the series, a TV show based off of the many movies. 8 to be exact. It even has an animated TV show. But there's also a sitcom with 27 episodes. I watched the first one, and there are so many shenanigans that happen that I'd imagine they could make a pretty good moveset based on one of the characters. The main character, Richard Casey, would probably be the pick that they would go with. Though I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to go with a character from one of the movies if they decided to go with the Police Academy character at all. I kind of doubt that it will happen though. There are some Warner-owned sitcoms that I did not mention in this video due to not having enough time to watch them. A couple of those being Seinfeld, 2.5 Men, Full House, and I'm sure many more. This video was a little difficult to make due to me not knowing a lot about them, but it was fun. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, as it would encourage me to make future content. Next week, I plan on making another MultiVersus video, so consider watching that when it comes out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.